So, I
That
mean,
is completely correct. I agree with you that there is a development, but why, why just take the Talmud and say, well, the Talmud is like sort of not of development. It's like very authoritative. It's sort of set in stone when it's not really true that the Talmud is a development
no,
as
no.
well.
It's set in stone to us nowadays because we're not allowed to add any laws to it. In other words, the men of at least the Mishnah who had actual ordination going back to Moses, they were an extension to Deuteronomy chapter 17, Parshat Shoftim, that God commands us to listen to this court, and they claim to be members of this court. God even says not to stray from the right or to the left from what they instruct. So when I say it's set in stone, to us, is because once this court was dismantled, no other court could add or change the law. But back then, there was no Mishnah, there was no Braitot, Toseftot. Things were constantly changing. One rabbinic law could be undone, one could be created. This is why we have this whole issue with agunot, women in Judaism not being able to get divorces nowadays, because there's no way for rabbis to change the original law, because the halacha also states that you would need a court of greater wisdom and greater number. And now we don't even have the authority to establish one of those courts to begin with, whether it's of lesser wisdom or of lesser number. It's because once ordination ceased, here first, like ordination, Smicha, could only be given in the land of Israel, and it could only be given from someone who has it. So we see in the Torah that God, it says that he was going to put on the elders what he put on Moshe Rabbeinu. And then we see Moshe Rabbeinu also ordained Yehoshua, Joshua. And it was passed down from teacher to student all the way to around the time of Yehuda Hanasi, Hillel Bet. And then after that, it was dismantled. This is why they wrote down all the notes they had and created the Mishnah, which is the purest form of oral law that we have written down. So this is why it's set in stone to us. Like the title rabbi doesn't really mean much nowadays. I don't think we need another court. Outside for agunot, or divorced women, or what's known as chained women, there's even rabbis who've come up with solutions for that, but being that there is no...
I got a question, if I could just jump in.
Sure.
I was wondering, right, because, I mean, you really can't, no Jew can really, that I know of, can trace their lineage back to prove what tribe they're from. The only one that can really, trace their lineage back is a Kohen. So couldn't there arise a Kohen that would be able to give smicha? Because, I mean, wasn't Aaron also given smicha, or the priest, didn't they have?
Yeah, but it's not passed down genetically. Smicha is not passed down genetically. The kahuna is passed down, not necessarily even genetically, because